Hi, I'm Rick Wingrove. Welcome to Road to Reason. We're got an all-new set, as you can see today. Our green screen, a couple of technical difficulties, but we're going to just wing it the best we possibly can.
It's our Christmas set.
This is our Christmas set, exactly. We are doing a show. By the way, we have a special guest with us today. And we're doing this show is supposed to be about the war on Christmas, but I got to say that is such a stupid thing that we're just not even going to, give it. We're not even going to. Wait, excuse me. Yes, we are going to talk about it at some length. So
I'm going to put my crappy little foot down on that war on Christmas.
Yeah. So Bill O'Reilly, of course, is the self-appointed arbiter of all things Christmassy, and has determined that there is a war on Christmas, and it's the atheists who are doing it.
That's because we're angry.
That's we're angry and are terrorists, and have launched a war on Christmas. So. Are
you angry?
I'm so angry.
Really?
Well, I'm not that angry.
How was your weekend?
It was good. Hey, you kind of look like you were up drinking all night. No offense, but yeah.
Yeah, it was
Didn't
Festivus
I see both of y'all at Festivus last night?
Maybe so.
Did you have any fiber while you were drinking?
That's TMI. Shut up, Mr. Hankey. Yeah, we have our annual Festivus party to celebrate the season with balls and trees and lots of
all up
liquor.
On the tree.
Yeah, because we're so angry and depressed as atheists.
A lot of angry, depressed people at the house last night.
Yeah,
and
masking it with.
Stayed there till 2 o'clock being angry and depressed.
I missed the memo and I stopped being angry and depressed like around 1.
Yeah, which brings us back to the war on Christmas. Yeah. There is no war on Christmas. I know this because I'm involved with American Atheists, and if there were a war on Christmas, I would have got a memo. Bada boom. So,
well, it's a secret agenda.
Tip your waitress. Try the veal.
It's a secret agenda. There's no memo.
It is a secret agenda.
It's word of mouth.
Speaking of which, you have a news item for us. We would normally do some news here.
Oh, right.
You have the Maryland thing?
Yeah. So taking the war on Christmas to the war on religion generally, we have a fantastic new tactic. Because trying to get Christians to just keep their crap out of the schools doesn't work. But what does work is if you try to force them to be accommodating to the Muslims, they'll just cancel it all.
Right.
So this is going to be our new American Atheist tactic, I think. In Montgomery County, Maryland, they recognize Christmas and Easter and Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur and all these things on the school calendar. Well, the Muslims asked for equal billing for their Eid, I think it's called, their high holiday. And rather than accommodate them, the school board decided to take out all reference to religion off the school calendar and instead just call it, winter break, spring break. It still coincides with the religious days of observation, but they get around having to actually include Muslims by just renaming the holidays,
right? But
still observing them.
And I have contended before, and I've said this to the county council in Loudoun County, Virginia, that when the Muslims get involved in this, when the Muslims start demanding equal time on the courthouse lawn, then the brilliance of separation of church and state will become quite evident to everybody.
Right.
And they'll sign right on. But what's interesting is what happened in Maryland was essentially the marketplace found a fix. They went pragmatic on it and decided that you can't be pushing one religion in the schools, certainly not in that context.
But they won't go secular just because we ask them. They'll only go secular when it comes to including the Muslims.
Exactly.
There was an article, I guess a couple weeks ago, by this Marine who was furious that his kids are learning about Islam in school.
Right.
Because he's a Marine, so his kids shouldn't have to hear about Islam.
Yeah.
They can hear about Christianity, and that's okay, and whatever religion they want, that's okay.
But it turns out the Muslims and the atheists have just equal access to the schools as everybody else.
Right.
And it was like it's almost okay. They could ignore us for a while, but the Muslims, they're just not going to have that.
Right.
How do you feel about that, Mr. Hankey?
Well, I'm glad you asked me because I've just been sitting here feeling like a piece of crap being ignored by you two. And now you want my opinion. Well, I think it's funny. This Marine has no problem going overseas and killing these people that are Muslims, but he doesn't want his kid to learn about who it is that he's fighting. That makes absolutely no frigging sense. And as far as Bill O'Reilly, I know damn well he does not have a high fiber diet. And if he did, he wouldn't be so crappy all the time.
Okay.
Alrighty then. And that's the news from Mr. Hankey.
Where to go with that? The news from Maryland.
But honestly, I would like religion taught in schools, and I think this is something that we should push.
Comparative religion, you mean?
Right, because they act like, it's so funny to me, these Christians who accept that Roman and Greek mythology is mythology, and that those gods aren't real, and that's crazy, but then their God is real. Like, they can't see that it's just as absurd for the Abrahamic God to be considered real as it is for Zeus or Poseidon or Thor or any other fake gods. So I think we should push to have religion taught in school, and then it will all fall apart.
Fine, make it an elective for those who are interested,
Where's the fun in that?
Yeah, well,
no.
yeah. Mandatory.
What kind of atheist agenda is that?
I don't know.
We can't have a war on Christmas and religion when you're so nice.
I want to say, I don't discriminate. You can be Muslim, you can be Jewish, you can be Christian, but if you eat your broccoli and your wheat and you have a nice round diet, I promise you I will visit you during the holidays, and it'll be a moving experience.
How about pork? How are you on pork?
Everything is better with bacon.
A high pork diet, yeah.
Oh yeah, pork.
Nice. So, the war on Christmas. I've got a couple of pictures of how we do the war on Christmas at our house.
It's sacrilege.
If we can get those up. Just three quick pictures. Three quick pictures. There, no, wrong ones. Well, we can talk about this too, though.
Okay, let's go to Skelisanta.
This is a famous incident from a couple of years ago in Loudoun County, Virginia, where I live, and we were putting up, for several years, we're putting up displays on the lawn to counter the religious displays they put up. A couple of years ago, a guy showed up, actually, the son of one of our members showed up and put up the skeleton Santa.
Now, we need to clarify that he was a Christian.
He was a Christian. He was not an
atheist. This is not an atheist attempt to ruin Christmas. This was a Christian trying to show the commercialization of Christmas and how it's detracting from the meaning of Jesus.
Lamenting the commercialization, which we all basically agree on, Christian, atheist, both.
Right.
And so, but the display was dismantled on camera. There was a reporter there from, I believe it was ABC, one of the networks.
Bunch of news.
Was there. And what happened was a sheriff's deputy actually came out while a woman had come in off the sidewalk onto courthouse grounds and started dismantling this art display on the lawn. Tore it apart, laid it on the ground. Sheriff came out, CBS or whatever it was, whatever affiliate it was filming, and the sheriff just said, I don't want any part of this, walked away from vandalism in progress on the courthouse grounds.
Because
and nobody
Christian.
ever got charged or anything. And they know exactly who the woman is.
Oh, she said her name on camera.
She was found, her name was on, and she was interviewed later on another show.
And in fact, that police officer tried to order the news off the lawn.
Yes.
He didn't want them filming it. And I'm going to tell you, he didn't get anything good for Christmas. He just got a bag of crap.
But this is the Christian exceptionalism that we see. I don't think they're aware of it. Nothing happened to that woman.
Nothing happened to her.
She vandalized it on camera in front of a sheriff's deputy who did nothing except try to get the reporters to leave.
Right.
And here's her rationale. She was justified because she was offended.
She was offended.
It was so sad. She was so offended.
Because she loves the baby Jesus so much.
She loves baby Jesus.
That Santa Claus skeleton somehow, I couldn't even begin to
so deep,
rationalize that.
Skelisanta was a personal friend of mine, and they murdered him. Those damn Christians murdered Skelisanta.
Well, more than that, they did it more than once. As a matter of fact, the sheriff's department brought in a portable camera on a truck, set it up across the street to supplement the one on the courthouse building 30 feet away, looking right down on that spot. Interestingly, none of the cameras were working during any of this.
Probably Jesus. Probably God interfered with the cameras because he didn't want that display to be there, and he wanted that woman to be able to destroy it with impunity.
That is the only rational explanation.
God did it.
So, anyway, that's the war on Christmas. And in the end, the Loudoun County Council Board of Supervisors didn't outlaw. They implemented new rules making it harder for us to put up our displays on the lawn because of this assault on.
Oh, look! Well, take a look at this display. This is the one we had up that is so offensive and nasty to everyone. How dare you?
But by the way, next weekend, next Saturday, we already have our permit to set up our display tent, our little kiosk, information kiosk on the lawn, courthouse lawn, and we are also going to be in the Loudoun County Parade carrying that banner.
This is in Leesburg. For
in
anybody who's
Leesburg.
watching or listening who's
So-
free next Saturday in
Yeah.
Leesburg, Virginia.
I'm going to put it up on Facebook in a couple of different spots, but we'll be carrying that banner in the parade, and it would be nice if we had, it'd be nice to see 100 people, but sadly,
Yeah.
atheists are a little bad about showing up for stuff many times.
Except for Mr. Hank.
So I'd be thrilled to have 10 people. If you come, dress nice. Don't wear a tin hat. And don't dress crazy. We're trying to be
Don't
like
wear a Mr.
normal,
Hanky costume in the
normal
parade.
people here. Yeah. So,
But you know-
Oh wait, we have a call. Who do we have?
Oh, I like callers.
Maybe it's Carla. Oh, they hung up. I wanted to say, related to the courthouse lawn disaster, what's really interesting to me is the same year there was this young girl in Fredericksburg who took the baby Jesus from a manger as a prank, took it home, didn't do anything to it. She was chased down and prosecuted. I heard a rumor she ended up losing her job over it. They pressed charges against her for taking poor baby Jesus from the manger. He was returned unharmed.
Yeah.
And she was prosecuted, but the woman that destroyed Skelisanta in full view of everybody, nothing happened to her. Because
course.
it's Christian exceptionalism.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're exactly right.
And do you remember, actually related to that, is when the Board of Supervisors, the one supervisor, Ken Reed, blamed everything on the atheists and said atheists are fanatical terrorists.
Right.
Which, to throw around a word like that in a post 9/11 world, I think is just, irresponsible.
I want Ken to remember one thing. I know where you go to the bathroom, mister.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, poor Ken. We're gonna get sued.
So gonna get
Anyway, yeah. So what they've done now is, with tax dollars, they bought a bunch of holiday displays. I believe there's a menorah and a creche and a Santa.
Yeah.
Because Santa's for all the rest of us.
Well, which is an interesting thing because it's called the reindeer rule, but it's the Santa rule. They can put up the Jesus display only as part of a combined display. So they have the Jewish menorah, and Santa represents the atheists, I guess.
Right.
Saint Nick.
But what about the Muslims? Because I don't think they're represented.
No,
There's
they're
the menorah and
underrepresented. And
Santa.
I think they should press for their equal rights. there.
should.
But it raises an interesting dilemma. You got to have the Santa there to put up the Jesus. Now, we've talked about this, and we're thinking about buying one of those giant inflatable Santas because you can put a Santa up by itself anytime, but under the rules, you cannot put up a Jesus without a Santa.
Oh, but can the Santa be unattended?
No, none of our displays can be unattended.
Right.
Only the Christian display.
Isn't that convenient?
Yeah.
what is it,
is.
Mr.
That just doesn't make sense because Santa comes from St. Nicholas, and that's already a Christian icon. So they're getting two for the price of one. That's not fair, damn it.
Not
That's
fair at all.
true. We need to have a flying spaghetti monster, really, for it to
Well,
be fair.
we do.
High fiber spaghetti.
And a Tiktaalik. We need a Tiktaalik.
Oh, I don't know what that is.
That's that fossil, the first fish that came out of the water. Your inner fish.
Fish is
The one
good
that
for
is
you.
that's not just a transitional fossil, it's our transitional fossil.
I heard that the devil left fossils to test your
befuddle-
faith.
To befuddle poor dumb humans.
It's a
yeah.
test of faith for creationists
I
who,
heard the same thing.
might be led astray by science.
Yeah, I'm not buying it. Did we locate the other pictures of the tree at my house? No? No. Okay, we
It's
don't.
quite offensive anyway.
don't have
Probably
those.
nobody wants to see your tree of
but
balls.
I've
and
got
your-
one on my phone. I could hold that up to the camera. But the way we dishonor Christmas is we put up a big giant Christmas tree. It's a 9-foot tree. It's covered in
right.
balls. And we also, right in front of the house, we have a Japanese maple, which has tons of balls on it. And then also we have stockings hung on the fireplace.
He's talking a lot about balls. I'm just
Yeah.
going to
Just like we have balls on the table
There's nothing
as
wrong
we
with that.
speak.
I know. Look at there's little blue ones in there.
Little blue ones.
Oh, they're very cute.
Yeah, yeah. No material for humor there.
Well, I noticed you had a bunch of gifts at your house and
Yeah.
music and lights, and it's
All that kind of
almost
stuff,
like you
because
don't hate Christmas at
In
all.
all seriousness, that's a tradition. The season is not just for the religious; it's for everybody. It's a
Right.
holiday for us too. Even if we don't want it, we're going to be off work that day. So
Speak for yourself. I'm a
can't get
contractor. I
anything-
got to work.
Oh
I just
yeah.
want to say that I was at Rick's party last night, and that tree was sure swell. It even had a pine scent to it, just like a nice bathroom. Mm.
Which is interesting, being a fake tree and everything. Yeah.
Well, for fake
You got to pay
religion.
extra. You got to pay extra for the pine scent.
Well, I don't know if people realize the origins of Christmas. I think all the Christians that just celebrate it because that's how they grew up, and they have no idea the history of the celebration and that it was stolen from the pagans in the first place.
Yeah, stolen from the pagans,
it was.
totally
This is-
absconded,
I mean, just like
repurposed.
all of Christianity is stolen from somewhere else. All of
Yeah.
religions have the same yada, boring virgin birth, resurrection, Messiah, blah, blah. They all have these elements. There's nothing unique to Christianity at all.
But the pagans and others before them and parallel to them, celebrated the shortest night or the shortest day, longest night by celebrating the return of the light. So
The
the
Lord.
change of the seasons, days were getting longer. So it was time for
Yeah.
celebration in the middle of winter when there was nothing else
Nothing.
going on, when everybody lived in the forest and were chased by wolves and stuff. You had to have something.
Something to.
So they
Yeah.
had these traditions, and the Christians couldn't shut it down, so they just hijacked
They
it.
co-opted it.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, even now, biblical historians and leading Christians will say there's no way that this Jesus person, if he existed, would have been born on December 25th. Like, given the temperature, the shepherds would not have been in the fields at that time. Mary could not have traveled from Nazareth to Bethlehem or whatever easily in the winter.
Yeah.
They don't think he was born then, if he was born at all.
Well, the other thing that puzzles me is 3 wise men from the east followed a star in the east and ended up west. How the hell did that happen?
God.
Yeah, okay.
God did it.
Explain
in
that
doubt,
one to me.
You don't see. This is the beauty of religion. You don't have to explain anything.
No, except
did it.
one thing I would like
It's a
explained
mystery.
is how Mr. Hankey got involved in this whole Christmas thing. What is that about?
It's part of our blasphemy, I think.
Oh, yeah, the
All I
blasphemy.
can say is that I'm more friggin' real or Santa than Jesus. And if you don't believe me, go ahead and touch. I promise I won't burn.
That's okay. You look like you have
Okay.
some smudges on your gloves. Oh, I have a quiz for you guys. You want to take a quiz?
Let's do that.
Okay. Santa or God?
Okay.
Okay. I'm going to ask you some questions. You tell me if the answer is Santa or God. Who keeps a list of who's naughty or nice?
God. No, Santa.
Right. Okay. Who's all-knowing and omnipresent?
Santa. No, God.
Right. Who has a long white beard?
Oh, that's just gonna be Santa.
I don't know.
That's a tough
No,
one.
God.
God. Okay.
Okay.
Who is taught to children by their parents?
Santa, no God.
Okay.
For God and Santa are our only choices in this.
Yeah, but
Okay.
you have to tell me which one it is.
Okay.
Okay.
Keep going.
Who is generally believed in by little children?
Mr. Hankey.
Who is not believed in by intelligent adults?
Mr. Hankey.
Okay.
Or Jesus or God.
Who demands sacrifices, tithes, or cookies?
Mr. Hankey.
I thought you
cookie-
wanted fiber.
The Cookie Monster.
If
The
I
Cookie Monster. Who never returns your calls?
Mrs. Hankey.
God.
Who rewards virtue and punishes evil?
Both.
Okay. Who has servants or helpers?
Mr. Hankey.
That's right.
Who has any evidence whatsoever for their existence?
Well, now I have seen Santa on radar on Christmas Eve.
True.
So that's
True.
more empirical evidence than I've ever seen for.
And Santa brings
God.
presents. God doesn't do jack
Yeah,
for me.
really. A lot of big talk. And
I
then-
know. I don't see any action
Then,
going
then he
on.
has slaves and kills people. So
Well, that's probably metaphorical, or it was different at the time.
I don't know.
So it's okay.
Anyway.
And that's the end of that quiz. So I think it's clear that Santa, God is basically Santa for grown-ups who never stop believing
Exactly.
and grow out of it.
Yeah,
like
and
the rest of us.
interestingly, in my experience, the day I realized Santa wasn't real, sorry kids, but
Don't
Just
listen, kids.
don't listen, yeah. Spoiler alert. The day Santa became fictional for me,
Yeah.
so did God.
Well, that's what my son says when, he hears about the tooth fairy and stuff, and he says, I don't believe in God. Why would I believe in fairies?
Yeah, right.
It's hard to push that.
And I was like 4 when that happened.
Hard to push it.
And I was doing the math, actually. How does he visit all those houses in one night? We've all done that math. So
Well, just like God, he works in mysterious ways, I think.
mysterious ways. As a matter of fact, I think his name should be changed from Yahweh. That's kind of a scary name. Doesn't
Yeah,
mean
that's
anything.
weird.
His name should be changed to Mysterio von Munchausen.
Oh, Munchausen
Like that,
syndrome.
yeah. And
That's a good
Mysterio
one.
for the mysterious ways. You see what I did there?
I see what you did.
Yeah.
Munch-
Tied a bunch of stuff together there.
We could add by proxy at the end.
Yeah,
Mysterio Munchausen by proxy.
exactly. Well, that's implied.
That's pretty
Oh,
damn
okay.
smart, Rick.
Thank you.
Atheists are pretty smart.
I'm thinking
in
that's
case you
going to
didn't
catch
know.
on. So, don't we have a break coming up or anything?
No, I think we have no break today.
We have no breaks today?
Why don't you guys talk a little
Looks-
more about
looks like-
Santa? Because I got a lot to do before Christmas gets here. Maybe Carrie can put that picture of that crucified Santa back up, and I can slip on out.
Try not to leave a trail.
So,
So,
so we're changing things around a little bit here, and I think we can come back now.
Mr. Hankey has left the building.
Well, Mr. Hankey had to go, as
Oh.
it were. Yes.
That's a bad pun.
Thanks.
So, here's my question. What do you say as an angry atheist who hates Christmas and is waging a war on Christmas if someone wishes you a Merry Christmas? You probably say something nasty and hateful in return, right?
I tell them to shut their whore mouth and go to hell, is what I tell them.
That's what I always hear you say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the war on Christmas is so ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of us have traditions. Now, I'm not the strict traditionalist myself. Whenever possible, I just go skiing on Christmas.
Yeah.
But last couple of years, I've kind of stayed home, and I don't like getting caught up in the whole gift buying thing and bankrupting
Yeah.
myself every December. I hate that.
It is very commercialized.
Well, it's too commercial.
That's right, yeah.
Somebody should put up a Santa to depict that.
But then the atheists get blamed because I'm sure you remember the Board of Supervisors meeting that we attended after this debacle that year. And they said, oh, the atheists put up this Santa. And we said, no, we didn't. That was a
No,
Christian.
that was a Christian,
And then they
so-
go, oh, well, we don't know who did it. Suddenly they don't know who did it.
But a Christian
But
did
a
it. And I
Christian
said
did
this.
it.
So how did the atheists get,
They just assumed.
sanctioned for this thing? Yeah.
Right, they
Well, it didn't
assumed.
even matter. Something happened that was
Yeah.
bad, so atheists.
They didn't like it and they were offended, which gives them the right to destroy private property
I think they
because
were
they're
tired.
offended.
They were tired of seeing us come to the council meetings and stuff. But
Oh, well,
Yeah,
get used to
well,
it. Sorry.
we're coming back.
Coming back, and I think
We're
we
going to
should
be
open.
in the parade, batting down the hatches.
We should open with a satanic prayer or something, just to.
When they talk about a war on Christmas, it begs the question: what would a war on Christmas actually look like?
Yeah.
Tanks, guns, planes, the rack, the wheel, burning
Right.
at the stake. What would it actually look like?
Yeah. Well, I think it's hard to have a war on an idea, anyway.
Well, yeah.
How are you going to stop people? I'm curious, how many homes have you stormed into and demanded that they stop celebrating Christmas?
Exactly. The fact is that a war on Christmas would begin with probably legislation if we really wanted to do something. Nobody's ever proposed any
Right.
legislation to limit the practice of Christmas. The only thing we have talked about is that the government should not be the provider of that as a religious holiday. And, the Supreme Court...
But that's offensive to people who want to push their religion on everybody.
Right.
You don't want them to, which constitutes a war.
We're infringing on their rights by not allowing them to infringe on ours.
Right. It's so bizarre. All it is a pushback to support the separation of church and state. That's really what all of it comes down to.
It's about.
Keep it to yourselves and we won't have a problem. And nobody seems to be able to do that.
No, they turn it into an assault on Christianity, a war on Christmas, and it's nothing of the kind. We would have to be literally going after them in the courts. American Atheists, Freedom from Religion Foundation, these are organizations which accomplish many of their goals by, frankly, just suing people. That's how you get it in the courts. You confront people over their illegal actions, their unconstitutional actions, and we win some of those. One thing we haven't done is ever try to stop anybody from having Christmas. We just think that government property is the wrong place to do that, and certainly not with taxpayer money, because James Madison spoke about that. You can't ask a man or any citizen, man or woman,
don't be sexist,
all created equal, to pay for somebody else's religion.
Right. But you can if it's Christianity, because they're special.
Yeah, they are special.
And we were founded as a Christian nation.
Yeah, so
they say.
It appears that discrimination in the war against them simply boils down to them not being able to hammer us any way they want to anymore.
Yep.
Looks like we have a live call in. Who do we have? Oh, wait.
Technical difficulties. But you know what was interesting to me with the Loudoun County Board of Supervisors with this whole thing was, I don't know if you remember when we all went, there was like atheists on one side, Christians on the other side, with this whole thing about the Skull of Santa and the public displays of the holidays. And one woman came forward from the Christian side, and she said, I hate to see all this dissent, during the holidays as a time of coming together. Wouldn't it just work if we keep our Christian displays at our homes and at our churches and at our private businesses? The atheists are the ones that said, great, we're clapping, saying that's a fantastic idea. There's hundreds of thousands of private homes and businesses and churches in the state.
One block away from Loudoun County Courthouse is a church which puts up a very large, what do you call that display?
The creche?
The creche, a very large creche display. 1 block away. And you ask these people, and I have asked them, why does it need to be on government property? And it's a rhetorical question. We know why, because they want to,
they want to push it
mark
on
their
everybody.
territory and perpetuate the mythology that Christianity is the foundation of the American system.
Right, because you're talking about a postage size, little postage stamp of property in the middle of Leesburg. That's the seat of Loudoun County. And if they can't also have their nativity there, then they're going to cry and whine about how oppressed they are as the majority in this country.
And one thing I tried to impress on them is that based on the American Religious Identification Survey, 20% or more of people are nones, no religious preference, and maybe all of those are not atheists, but there are, just using their numbers, conservative numbers, there are something like 80,000 people in Loudoun County alone who are not Christians.
Right. They probably don't want to see that stuff any more than we do.
Okay, I'm told there is a caller. Who do we have? Okay.
Is this like prank call?
I don't know what that is.
I think it's God.
No, it's your producer calling to say you guys are doing a wonderful job. I just wanted to pat you both on the back for our evil intentions on destroying Christmas. Go ACS. But more importantly, I was thinking about what you guys were saying, and I thought it was really good about when you brought up about wars and planes and stuff like that, because isn't that really ironic? It's supposed to be the season of peace, and yet the other side is making an equation of war and terrorism. I mean, fueling that type of venom is extremely dangerous.
Well, right. Yeah, they're the ones that call it a war, and it couldn't be any further from the truth that, we dissent only, as we've said, on the basis of it being on government property. Other than that, we have no interest in what people do in their own homes and on church property.
Right.
That's one thing. One thing about, I was talking about how American Atheists and Freedom from Religion Foundation make progress is with lawsuits. But one thing we've never done is sued anybody for what they're doing inside that church.
Right.
We don't sue them for that. That's not what we're about. That's not an infringement on our civil rights or an assault on the Constitution in any way.
But that's not sensational news. Like Fox News can't come on and say, the atheists are very reasonable, and they just want us to keep it private. That's not sensational enough. They had to call it a war, and it's a war on terror. Just like the whole Ebola BS. That was so ridiculous. Like, it's the Ebola epidemic. Like, one person had Ebola. and they whip everybody into a frenzy. Like, more people die of the flu
Right.
every year, or lack of health care. Ebola, I mean, really?
Or from accidental ingestion of peanuts, or
Right.
spider bites, or lightning.
If you ever watch, there's this great show called 1,000 Ways to Die.
Yeah.
It's fascinating about all the crazy ways that people have gotten themselves killed.
I thought that was 6 Feet Under. This is a different show.
Oh, this is like, yeah, it's not like a reality show or anything. But it's great because then they have like a medical examiner who comes on and talks about what actually happens physically in the body that terminates life. So it's really interesting.
Oh, yeah.
That's kind of just a tangent.
Science.
Science, it works.
Yeah, science. I should probably show you a little science. My new cast, nothing serious, a little tennis elbow from lifting too much heavy stuff. But the interesting thing about this is this is a totally adjustable, heat-formed, form-fitting, removable, breathable, washable thing created by a priest after much prayer. Actually, that's not true
Well,
at
he
all. This thing,
probably
as far
had-
as I know, was created by NASA using science, real world, technology transfer from scientists doing science to real people.
But it
I'm not
probably
sure
would
what
come
my
in
point
handy
was.
for prayer, but you probably get carpal tunnel after a while if you pray too much. You probably could use one of those.
But I had a point there. I think the point's so obvious I don't need to elaborate.
Well, I
further.
think maybe
So,
the point is that you drank too much at Festivus.
I may have. Maybe that point wasn't near as awesome as I thought it was.
But anyway, well, this is the thing about being an atheist at Christmas time. To me, like, I find it can be kind of alienating. I don't know about you. It's like there's this great fun club that everybody's a part of, and we don't want to tear it down. But, you see these people coming together to celebrate something that you don't believe in. We have to find our meaning somewhere else and find a different way.
What really disturbs me is the Christian war on Hanukkah and Festivus. I
Yeah.
mean, they are trying to shut that stuff down.
I mean, just because there's a poll doesn't
Yeah.
mean,
right.
there's anything sinful going on. Sometimes a poll is just a poll.
Festivus poll, yeah.
The Festivus poll.
Sometimes it's just a garland-wrapped pole is all it is.
Right, that doesn't mean anything.
No, it's not phallic at all.
And there's nothing wrong with airing of grievances and feats of strength.
Feats of strength, yeah.
It's very important.
We spread that airing of grievances out over the whole year.
I do.
We don't try to concentrate that at one time.
I complain all the time. But I was actually in church yesterday, and I didn't get struck by lightning.
You should elaborate on that.
Yeah.
a bit.
Well, my mother sings in a choir, and a Christmas choir, and she's an agnostic too. My dad's agnostic or atheist or something. But there's so many beautiful elements of religion that I find it kind of like this, vase of balls here on the table. There's some beautiful things in there, but there's also like a bunch of scary crap. But it's hard to take out the ugly parts.
Well, I know some of the songs. There's none of the Christmas songs that all of us don't know every word to. But I gotta say, if I hear "Silent Night" one more time, I'm gonna put a gun in my mouth. I'm just saying.
You know what's good is Hallelujah. The Canadian tenors sing Hallelujah. It's like the most beautiful thing ever. And that's the thing in the church yesterday. And I'm thinking, I felt like such an imposter. Like, these people are gonna find out I'm not buying this crap, and I'm gonna like get kicked out or like lynched or something. But they were all super nice people. They were so nice, and my parents' friends were there, and they gave me this little like Christmas pin with like little mistletoe, and they're just kind and wonderful, loving people. They were all so happy to see each other, and there was wreaths and like they had handbells.
Yeah.
It was beautiful, and it was such a celebration of the season. And I think, why can't we just have that without the Jesus crap?
How can you stand to be nice to those people?
I know.
And I've had that asked. And,
Really?
I've got family. Most of my family are still religious. And most of the people I know and deal with on a daily basis are, have at least some rudimentary, some just tiny bit of religion left in them. It's like their fallback. They're not really religious, but they're not going to disavow God just in case or something.
Right.
I don't know.
What is that? Pascal's wager.
Yeah, Pascal's wager. But, these are our friends, our neighbors, our family, everybody. What are you going to do? Kick everybody out over that? We're not like that.
Right.
We're not like talking to some of the students from George Mason. Hey, guys. Everybody that was at the house.
Thanks for
last
coming
night.
to
Yeah,
Festivus.
thanks for coming. But somebody's talking about people who become aware, who become atheists in college, and it happens a lot.
Oh, yeah.
A lot. There were several there last night who
Oh, really?
had woken up in college and say, what do you say to people that want to come out to their parents? I say, wait till that last tuition check clears. And they were talking about kids they know, and we've heard of people
Oh, yeah.
who come out to their parents and they're cut off.
Yeah.
They get no more assistance
Yeah.
to go to college. They're basically out of college for coming out.
It's like the same stories you hear about gay youth who come out as gay and the parents kick them out of the house
Right,
and cut off their funding
exactly.
because of their choice.
Yeah.
Or not even that it's a choice, but...
all of that seems to go back to Leviticus, I guess. You know.
Okay, but Leviticus and Deuteronomy don't count because then Jesus came.
Yeah.
So yeah, so you get to cherry pick and throw away all the ugly, nasty, scary
No, you
parts
don't,
about rape and
because-
slavery.
no, you don't.
Because Jesus came and then he made everything all better.
The new covenant you're talking about.
Yeah.
But Jesus said the old law still applied.
But that was metaphorical. And
Oh, that was metaphorical.
Yes, yes.
Oh.
If it doesn't fit, it's metaphorical.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
I think
Don't you see how easy this
I
is?
think you found the pulse of this
That's
whole
right.
thing.
If it makes God sound mean or ugly or, a genocidal, homicidal,
Genocide,
psychopathic
homicide,
maniac,
yeah.
then you say...
institutional misogyny for thousands of years.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, these people who are against abortion, God was the greatest abortionist of all time. When he flooded the world, how many children and unborn children did he kill? And pregnant
Well,
women?
I know that he had some bears kill 42 children for insulting a bald man.
Right.
So.
But he made him bald.
Yeah.
I
right.
mean, if your hair falls out, it's pretty much, if you were designed that way.
And by the way, speaking
Then-
of Moses, when he came down from the mountain with the 10 Commandments and people thought that was pretty lame and they laughed at him, he killed 5,000 people.
Well-
That's like one verse.
Right.
Later, he killed 5,000 people. And that part of it doesn't get that much airplay.
Well, because it's not appealing and attractive and doesn't make religion sound warm and fuzzy. And I find that a lot of people that I know, a lot of the Christians, they've only ever heard about their religion, not comparative religions. They've only heard what they hear in church or from their parents, which is, oh, God loves you, and oh, it's wonderful, and we're going to heaven with grandma. And the warm, fuzzy stuff, they're not aware of like the vengeful wrath of God
Right.
if you piss him off.
Right,
And
yeah.
because they only say the warm and fuzzy stuff.
Let's talk about that some more, but I'm told that my pictures are ready.
Oh, your pictures are ready.
You just throw
Get
those up
ready
right
to be-
quick. Yeah, this is how
Oh
we
my
dishonor.
God.
This is how we wore on Christmas at my
That is
house.
so offensive.
Isn't it?
Stockings, Rick?
Yeah, I know.
Oh my God.
What's the next one? That's our balls in a tree.
That's terrible.
Yeah.
That's
I
just
know.
blasphemous.
And there's our anti-Christmas missile right there.
Yeah.
So
I'm not really even sure what
thank
to say
you
about that.
for pulling those up.
You're an atheist. You're not allowed to do that.
Well, tradition.
Yeah.
Tradition.
Well, that's the
I
thing.
love colored balls.
There were balls everywhere at
There
your
were
house.
balls everywhere at that house last night, all in that tree. Tripled the number of balls in the Japanese maple in the front yard. there.
Really?
Yeah.
But that one had
Went-
lights. That was really pretty.
It has lights
you
on
could
it,
see it
too,
from
yeah.
way down the street.
Yeah. But what were we talking about just
Well, I
before?
was going to say that a lot of these traditions, I think people don't realize, predate Christianity.
Yeah.
They predate Jesus. People have been getting together to celebrate the season, and that tree has nothing to do with Jesus. I mean, it's like the Easter bunny at Easter. What's it got to do with anything?
Yeah, nothing about it's mentioned in the Bible
No.
at all.
Well, I read today actually that the Bible never even had a month or a date that Jesus was supposedly born. It's completely made up.
Yeah.
And I think you said that
And
they changed
I
the
believe
date.
that Christmas at one time in this country was celebrated, at least by some groups, on January 6th. But they're absolutely guessing. There's no dates
Yeah.
in the Bible. They're just guessing because of the advent of Easter,
Right.
which varies because it's based on the moon or something. I don't know.
It's all based on wishful thinking.
It's
is what it's-
astrological algebra is what it is that it's based on.
Well, it's funny if you ever see a map, like there's a map of the world and it talks about all the events in the Bible took place within this teeny tiny little place on the map because they had no idea
Right.
about the rest of the world.
Right.
That was their entire world.
Yeah, I saw that map
Did you see
on
that?
Facebook. Here's the world. Here's where everything
took
in
place.
the Bible happened.
Right. And why did God not say anything about the
Yeah.
rest of the world?
Yeah.
And
so maybe that little valley had a flood.
Right.
Maybe some guy rescued a couple of cows on a boat, but
Well, they say there was
Yeah.
like a little bit of a flood in the Baghdad area or somewhere.
Yeah,
It just
but
got embellished, and it's like playing
Yeah, that-
operator with generations.
Exactly. And I've said
know?
that. The story gets better with every telling.
Yeah.
Until finally it's a worldwide flood, everything's dead.
But
God
yeah.
murdered everything on the planet that
Because-
wasn't on that boat
Because he loved them so.
because love.
I mean, this is what I don't get. Like, just because this religion has been around a long time, it's like it lends it authority and authenticity just because it's old.
Yeah.
Like, the same Christians will laugh at Scientology and Mormonism and recognize that they're patently ridiculous, but Christianity is not ridiculous. Just
Right.
because people have been believing it for a long time, then that must be okay.
Right. For 2,000 years, and that's why they hate atheists. That's why we're evil, because they were told
Yeah.
for 2,000 years that we are
Yeah.
the worst possible kind of person.
I always believe like we're the kind of people that are going around like in the emperor's new clothes,
Right.
saying, "Are you people crazy? I'm sorry, the emperor has no clothes. What are you doing?"
Well, I say, where's the record? Let's look at the criminal record and see who the bad guys are. It's not us.
No. I
No.
saw good statistics on that, actually. They were talking about the Federal Bureau of Prisons. And the percentage of people who identified as atheists or non-believers in prison is 0.07%
Right.
in federal prison. Now, if it's 20% of the population that's non-believers, but only less than 1% of the prisoners, like, what does that tell you?
Well, that tells you that their allegations about us are wrong.
Or that we're smarter,
badly
evade.
wrong, or
We're better
we're
criminals.
so evil. We're like super evil geniuses. One of those.
Yeah.
It's one of those, and
Well, isn't Mark Zuckerberg atheist? Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, like a lot of the biggest
Yeah.
evil geniuses.
yeah, Keira
I mean,
Knightley.
Facebook.
Talk about an evil genius. Angelina Jolie.
Yeah, Brad Pitt.
Pure evil.
Well, this
Pure
is the
evil.
thing about being an atheist and with this threat of going to hell. I feel like if we do, we're going to have the best party because the best people are in hell.
Yeah.
You've got, in heaven, you're going to have Jeffrey Dahmer. Hitler was
Yeah.
Roman Catholic. He'll probably be
Yeah.
up there, which could be really awkward.
Yeah, it could be.
But in hell, or if it's like the flying spaghetti monster, if that's right, that gospel, then we're going to have volcanoes of beer and strippers.
That's
I mean,
a party.
what would you rather
That's,
do?
Live music, I'm sure, too.
Live music.
Because everybody will be down there.
I'm
Zeppelin,
sure
they'll all
Aerosmith
be
will
there.
be, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, where would you rather be?
But you
Kissing
know-
up to Jesus for eternity
These
or
things
partying?
about this talk of heaven and hell and eternity begs questions. Like God is said to, or excuse me, Mysterio von Munchausen behaves in mysterious ways.
Very.
Does that stop at the pearly gates, or is that prankster going to keep it up for the people inside? While they're at his knee worshiping for all of eternity and singing hymns and stuff.
Right.
As fun as that sounds, I just wonder if he keeps, if he keeps all that stuff on earth, or if,
Maybe they have a new Bible in heaven or something.
or maybe things aren't going to be quite as predictable up there as they seem.
And if everyone's sitting at the right hand of God, like what's on the left?
Ooh,
That's what I'm
that's
wondering.
deep.
Isn't that deep?
Deep
That's my
thought
deep thought
there.
for today.
I don't know, but anybody who will just just give a baby eye cancer. I mean, come
Right.
on.
Oh,
what's
yeah.
what's he going to do to people up there that have no escape? Can't get away from him.
I wonder if you can
kind
petition
of
to
pranks?
leave and go to hell
I don't.
from heaven, or once you're saved and you're in heaven, are you stuck there forever, even if you don't like it?
I don't know. It also begs the question about the other Christian deity, which is Satan.
Right.
And, here's a guy who is either equal in power to God, who has been unable to crush him, despite all the trouble, all the evil that, is alleged to come from Satan, or he's allowing him to persist
Right.
for whatever reason.
Well,
And
if
I've
you-
heard some pretty lame excuses, but I don't buy any of them.
Does it have something to do with free will?
It's something to do with free. Exactly.
Usually it's free will.
Going to let us make our own mistakes, and if we
Right.
don't automatically fall into worship mode, which is just a bizarre concept to me anyway. Worship?
Yeah.
I don't even understand the concept of worshiping anything. Life of Brian, if you've ever seen that movie,
Oh, that's fantastic.
that is a great movie. And worship is groveling like that.
But I think it's a great means of control. I mean, for governments to be able to control people by saying, oh, God did it. God wants us to go to war. God wants us to invade, Iraq. and take over their government and bring them a godly democracy or whatever. It gives, then all the sheep are like, bah, yay, war. And they go along with anything, and especially the poor people in this country, with the promise of reward later.
Well, even before this country, if people for millennia, even before religion, lived in squalor. People lived short, painful, disease-ridden, horrible lives, died young, probably from a tooth infection.
Right.
And I got to say, if somebody shows up with a story that's going to let you live in paradise after you're dead, that's a good sales, especially if the people have no science whatsoever, no way to evaluate those claims, no way to test those, and if, by the way, challenging those claims is highly lethal, the concept of a savior is going to sound pretty good.
It is. It's kind of like the Santa thing for the kids, because they believe it when they're little, because they really have no alternative evidence. They don't know any better. You believe what your parents tell you.
Well, God,
but when you get older and you see that there is evidence that proves it not to be true, you should consider it.
All the evidence points to God being Santa Claus for grown-ups.
It is. Santa Claus for grown-ups. And people... that would be fine to me if it didn't infringe on the rest of us. If people want to believe this in the privacy of their homes and worship whatever they want, I really don't care. The problem is that they're trying to force it through legislation on the rest of us.
Exactly.
And that's what makes me crazy, and that's why we fight so hard for the separation of church and state. That's really all atheists are fighting for.
Yeah, and that's a debate you can't lose, because we've got the Constitution to back us up, and pull it to that.
You would think.
You would think.
You would think, but then they have to come back and say, well, this is a Christian nation.
Well, I responded to that on a not Facebook, but on another website earlier this week. I pointed out some woman made that very assertion for the millionth time. I've seen it. And you just got to point out, the Constitution is a singularly secular document which prohibits in capital letters official religion, prohibits religious tests for anything to do with the government. And yet they still end up with nice tax-free status and all that. And so not everybody's totally on board. And by the way, they don't consider these prohibitions in the Constitution to be settled.
Well, that's the thing. You figure if they're going to cherry pick their own Bible, they're going to certainly cherry pick the Constitution
and just flat out lie about what's in it.
Yeah. Well, it's like on Fox News. They went to court to and sued for the right to air news that's not true, because there's nothing that says that news has to be true or factual. But all the people watching it who don't know this, which is probably most of them, you hear it on Fox News and you think it's true. If Bill O'Reilly says there's a war on Christmas, then there must be a war on Christmas.
If I've heard correctly, I hear that Fox News is not even on in Canada.
Really?
Because you can't say stuff that's just flat, patently untrue on television. And I actually don't think that's a bad policy, and I don't think that's any infringement on free speech. Why do you have the right? Do you have the right to lie and hustle and cheat people, lead them down the wrong path? How is that free speech?
Right. Well, I mean, to look at some of the recent Supreme Court decisions, I don't even understand some of those. Like the Citizens United making corporations people, I think is like the end of democracy as we know it, and it's like the craziest.
That would seem to be over, and we lost that one.
Right, and then once you've got corporations that have feelings, and then with Hobby Lobby, now corporations have religious feelings.
That trump human rights.
Yeah.
Corporate rights that trump human rights. It's
maybe
absurd.
we could seek asylum in like Norway or Sweden, like political asylum.
Get free college.
Expats, the higher minimum wage, better health care.
By the way, on a side note, healthcare spending last year was the lowest it's been in 54 years.
Oh, in the U.S.
And by the way, in the U.S. And by the way, it was the largest single contributor to the deficit reduction, larger than any of the austerity measures.
Thanks, Obama.
Yeah, thanks, Obama.
Thanks, Obama. God, it's the war on Christmas and war on health care.
Yeah.
War on
reason.
Conservative values.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about their values.
Me either.
But I go to a lot of Christmas stuff during the season, like I was saying. So I went to the church, with my mother and her choir. I go to friends' houses, and, if they're praying or whatever, I'm not going to make a big deal out of it. I think most atheists in private situations just go along with whatever. I'm not going to lead a prayer, but if I'm in someone's home and they're going to pray over their meal or whatever, I'm going to just be quiet and respectful. And
Well, I went to church. My mom had us in church every Sunday until I was 16. And I was in the choir, and we did the Christmas cantata every year and all of that.
Yeah.
So, a lot of the music's really pretty.
Oh,
but,
yeah.
That's not enough to excuse
well, that's the problem.
the whole underlying
It's the rest of it
abuse
that's-
of it. Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking that yesterday because the little children's choir was so adorable. These kids are all dressed up in their little black pants and their white shirts, and they were so cute, and their little voices were so sweet. And even the grown-ups, like their voices were angelic and beautiful, and the music could have been about Satan or science, and it wouldn't have mattered. It was the voices and the harmony that was so beautiful. And I thought, why can't we just do this without why does there have to be a crucifix hanging above the choir?
Yeah, and again, as we said earlier, that's all fine. Nobody argues with their right to do this.
Right.
But how does that translate into laws forcing other people to honor your religion or pay for your religion or for that to trump your rights?
Right.
But,
Well, and it's funny because I have a friend of mine who is a very open-minded Christian, and I have a lot of Christian friends. I always say this, but I really do, and I love them dearly, and I don't know that they recognize that they'd be wonderful people with or without their religion. Like, I don't think they need it, but she doesn't understand, like, prayer in school. And she says, if you don't like it or you don't believe it, why can't you just kind of quietly ignore it, like I would do in her home? And I finally had to say to her, what if this was Islamic prayer? How would you feel about your children if all the Muslims were praying in the classroom and you were left out and you had to just sit there and endure it? And it's like the light bulb went off all of a sudden. She's like, oh, I wouldn't like that at all. Like, now you get it. This is all the atheists are saying.
My apologies to Ben Affleck for using Islam as the boogeyman, but they kind of start to get the idea when it's Islam infringing, demanding the equal access, equal privileges.
It's just like we saw in Montgomery County with the school calendar.
Exactly.
If
I
atheists
think
can
that's
ask
hilarious.
and ask and ask, please stop having religious holidays in the public schools. They won't do it, but please give Muslims equal access. All of a
That'll
sudden,
do
it's done.
I love that.
And
That's hilarious.
I love it's my enemy's enemy is my friend. It's like that saying. Like, how can we work with the Muslims, to advance our agenda? To make schools secular.
Maybe they'll just take it upon themselves to do that.
No, I don't think they do. They don't see reason. It's like with any other movement, I think, with like civil rights or women's suffrage, gay rights. Like, you can't just ask nicely and have people give you your rights.
Yeah.
You have to shake it up a little bit.
It's up to us to keep the pressure on. And the war on Christmas, such as it is just us trying to get them to play fair, to play nice, to treat us with the respect that they demand, that they feel entitled to, and to keep it out of our faces. Because nobody likes having somebody else's religion shoved down their throat.
Right.
Which brings us to the American system. We live in a system based on a constitution which allows anybody to believe any stupid thing they want to believe, no matter how ridiculous, no matter how obviously, patently bogus, but does not allow them to impose that on anybody else by force of law.
Right.
Technically.
Supposedly.
Although they still manage to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, Religious Land Use and Institutional Persons Act exempts them from things like zoning ordinances, common sense things, ringing your bells too loud and things like that.
Yeah. Well, it's even like, remember
parking
the big
restrictions.
Well, there was a thing a while ago about, the crosses that people erect on the side of highways. If their loved one has been killed in a car accident on a certain highway, they put up a big cross and all this, wreath and all this stuff.
Right.
And then when people demanded that it's taken down because it is a hazard, then it's like, oh, you're attacking our religion and, it's a cross, you can't take it down because it's a cross. And if it were anything else, like a giant teddy bear or something, it would still be just as much of a distraction to other drivers and causing more accidents.
Well,
you'd still want it taken down.
Utah had a case. We actually won a case in Utah about 2 years ago because wherever a state trooper died on duty, the state would erect a cross with the state
good
trooper's
Lord.
name on it. They were sued. This went on for several years, and we prevailed. They had to take down all those crosses, and
Yeah.
they can put up a marker if they want to, but they can't, they just
Right.
cannot put up religious markers. No, certainly not with our tax money.
Well,
So
it's
we
such a-
won that one.
But it's one battle at a time, and it's so exhausting because every time you win in one place, another place crops up. Like this, World Trade Center museum business,
Yeah.
like where they're going to put a T-bar in a museum because God was with us on 9/11. Are you
Right.
kidding me? Like, where was he when all these people died and the towers collapsed and the first responders were killed trying to save the lives of others? God was there and he didn't do crap, and you want to thank him with a T-bar in a museum?
Yeah, and Dave Silverman and American Atheists have kind of taken the lead on that, challenging that, and of course they got a judge who says you don't have standing.
Right.
Nobody's got
There's always some
standing.
excuse.
Nobody's ever got standing to challenge somebody on this
Yeah.
stuff. But I don't know what the status of that case is right now. I don't think it's over.
Well,
But also, Dave Silverman the reason some people, probably Bill O'Reilly, thinks there's a war on Christmas is because every year at this time, American Atheist releases a series of billboards.
Oh,
do we have
yeah.
a picture? Did you bring a picture of one of those?
I don't have any
I
recent
don't-
pictures.
No. Anyway,
They're just so
Sorry,
offensive.
we don't have that picture. But they put up a billboard, and the new one has a child saying, all I want for Christmas is to stay home from church because it's
Oh, I've
stupid,
seen
or
that.
something like that.
Yeah.
It's very funny.
Well, I think that goes back to this idea, which I just find ridiculous, that religion inherently deserves respect.
Yeah,
It's so
exactly.
ridiculous. And I think it was Sam Harris who was saying, George Bush can say, God talks to me directly, and everyone's like, oh yeah, that's great. But if George Bush were to say, God talks to me through a hairdryer, everyone would be like, oh, you're crazy. But what difference does the hairdryer make? It's ridiculous. All of it is ridiculous. And we're supposed to smile and say, oh, yeah, and
Yeah.
go along like we believe that this is anything short of ludicrous.
Right.
And if we ask questions or point out that it's crazy,
Yeah.
then we're waging war.
But just to say it clear and simple, we're not at war against Christmas.
No.
Everybody's welcome to have their traditions. As you saw from the pictures, those traditions continue at our house.
Yeah.
And many other. I don't know anybody who's taken that hard stand. We're not going to
No.
do. That's not how it works.
No.
And so
We don't destroy nativity scenes. We're
No.
not desecrating churches.
No.
I mean, really, there's hardly
Have-
ever anything in the news.
have not taken any steps to require anybody to not have Christmas.
No.
And that would be the real war on
That would
Christmas.
be a war.
And none of that is happening.
No.
Bill O'Reilly is how they say in French, full of crap.
Yeah.
Right, Mr.
But
Hankey? Wherever you are now.
I hear him.
But
Yeah.
hey, we're about coming to the end of the show. I don't think we're going to have any closing credits or anything else, as we've been trying to hide it today, but we're having technical difficulties today.
I'm sure nobody can tell.
I'm sure nobody can tell. No music, no ads.
It's the Christmas green screen.
Scenery. Yeah. But this is live on Ustream. You look for us on YouTube. Follow us, like us.
On Facebook.
Watch the show and Facebook and everything. And have a very Merry Christmas. And
Feel
open
free-
your Christmas presents Christmas morning, not Christmas Eve.